All right. Hello, NextGen Nation. Welcome to our second breakout session. We are so excited to have you here. This session is looking ahead, AI's impact on the government workforce. And my name is Megan Pleasant. I'm the Marketing Communications Specialist here at GovLoop. So thank you so much for being here today. We're just going to do a quick recap real quick about what this session is about. AI is here to stay, as you guys probably know, but what's less defined is how this tech is going to shape the government workforce. What can you expect those changes to look like? And how soon should you expect them? Today, we're going to hear from some experts on what the most significant impacts will be and how they will affect you. But first, we have a few reminders to go over. It's the same reminders you've been getting all day, but we're going to do them again. So here we go. We have some additional resources that are available for you to download. So don't forget about those. They are in the resources tab at the bottom of the screen. And that includes this slide deck because there's going to be plenty of takeaways that you want to share with your colleagues. So don't forget to grab that. If you're in need of the closed captioning feature, look for the show captions icon at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be able to grab those. And we hope you don't have any technical difficulties, but we know what happens from time to time. If you do have that, be sure to send us a message in the Q&A tab, and our friend Julia, who's on the back end, will get those questions answered and hopefully help you out. Also, in that same Q&A portal, you can ask our experts some questions. We definitely want to hear from you, so drop those in. And we have an open chat that's also available for you if you want to talk to your peers, do a little question and answer with them, go ahead and do that. And I know that there's a lot going on. If you miss anything, that's not a problem. We're going to email you a link of this entire event tomorrow. It's going to be in your inbox. So if you want to go ahead and review anything, that'll be there for you tomorrow. So let's dive into the CPE info, because I know a lot of you are very interested in that. By attending this session, we are giving out 1 CPE credit for your participation, as long as you do 3 things. You need to stay and participate for the entire session, which we know you're going to do anyway, because there's a lot of good info coming up. We need you to take all of the polls, and we need you to fill out the post-event CPE evaluation to get that credit. As far as the polls go, those are going to pop up for you. You need to click on that and click submit to make sure that your response is registered. You can also find the CPE evaluation and the resource model on the console or afterwards in the resource center, because we don't want you to miss those CPE credits. We know you love those. All CPEs will be emailed to you directly after we determine your eligibility and confirm you've met all the requirements. So no worries there. Look out for that email. And that's all I have for housekeeping. So we are going to dive into today's speakers. So with all that out of the way, I want to introduce you to our experts. We have Prakhar Bajpai. He is the Senior Data Scientist for the City of Austin, Texas. And we have Leila Doty, Privacy and AI Analyst for the City of San Jose, California. They have so many great insights for you. I'm very excited to hear what they have to say. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let them get started. So here we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, since I am in Austin. But if you are in the West Coast, like my colleague Leila here, good morning to you. My name is Prakhar Bajpai, and I am a data scientist for City of Austin. Leila, do you want to do a quick intro before we move to the slide?
Sure. I'd love to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Leila Doty. Thank you so much for joining us today. Feel free to intro yourself and where you're tuning in from in the chat if you want. But I work for the City of San Jose as a privacy and AI analyst. And I do privacy and AI governance for the city. Another thing that we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation is something called the GovAI Coalition, which is actually where Prakhar and I were able to meet and collaborate with each other for the first time, and how we were able to connect and work on this presentation together. So thank you very much for being here, Prakhar. I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you. So we are going to talk, we have divided our session today into these 4 specific parts. We're going to start with discussing what is AI. Then we'll talk about some specific steps of AI in government. Then, as Leila mentioned, we are going to briefly talk about the GovAI coalition, which, just giving you a high-level summary, is great and very useful for all the government agencies. And then we are going to do like a quick takeaway for all of us as to what we learned during this session. Let's move to the next slide. Again, a very quick introduction from me. Again, my name is Prakhar. I am a data scientist, but my official city title is IT Data Architect. I work for City of Austin's Office of Budget and Organizational Excellence. I work with the central data team. So a combination of data analytics, AI, and policy making is where my usual work is. Actually, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to complete my 5 years here at City of Austin, but I have like more than eight years of work experience in this data analytics field. I graduated from Texas A&M University. So if there is any Aggie out there in the audience, Gigam, very excited to be here. I think this topic is very important, and I think next 50 minutes are going to be very useful for all of us. Leila, do you want to add anything before we move?
Sure, I'll just share a little bit more. So at the city of San Jose, I work on our privacy and AI team. And our team's mission is to really ensure that when the city is collecting data or using technology or buying technology, right, through procurement, that it's done so in a responsible way and only in a way that will serve our community members and their needs. So that's kind of the mission of our team. Part of that has also spun out into the work of the GovAI Coalition, which we will talk more about towards the end. But if you want a preview, oh, sorry, let me put this in the right chat. I'll drop a link in the chat. So if you want to kind of look at the GovAI Coalition's webpage and what we're about, you can do so there. Prakhar, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, let's dive into the content of today. So, when I was reached out by the GovLoop on talking about this discussing thing, what would be the first step that I take? The first step I take is I just ask AI, okay, I want to talk about this topic. What can you do? So first thing I did, I used ChatGPT and then I asked this prompt to that, okay, generate an image for me for looking ahead AI's impact on government workforce. This is the image that you see. I believe this is like so terrifying. You see like all of these blue images, you see a robot in government workforce, although you see like a nice mix of people actually working. So good news for us that we as humans are going to stay in the government workforce and not getting 100% eliminated by the AI. So that's the good news that AI is telling us. Then the next step I took, I actually wanted AI to describe what this image means. So the description that you are looking at the left, this is what ChatGPT gave me, that this is what it means by this image. So this professionalization depicts a diverse government workforce collaborating with AI in a modern, tech-enhanced office, robotic assistants, smart interfaces, and city space backdrop symbolize innovation, inclusivity, and civic progress. So I give it like a 6 out of 10 in terms of it understood some of those important aspects, that how important it is for all of us to have innovation, still have human in the loop, and then importance of AI in public service, and then human and AI collaboration. So this is, again, this is where I wanted to start, just show you, okay, what AI is thinking about this topic before we dive into what me and Leila think about it. Let me move to the next slide. Okay, so I want to start with a definition of what is artificial intelligence. This is a definition by the US Code. The term artificial intelligence means a machine-based system that can, for a given set of human-defined objectives, make predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing real or virtual environment. And then you have some like perceive real and virtual environment, abstracts as perception into models, use model interface to formulate option for information or action. Before this, let's do a quick poll. Sorry, Megan, I just saw the chat. Let's do a quick poll before we move into this slide. Megan, yeah. So the question is, what is the biggest perceived benefit of AI for your agency? And you have, please choose one of these, any options that you feel is the biggest perceived benefit.
Got a lot of good response already, but we're going to give you guys just a few more seconds to respond. Our poll is very active. Love that. Mary, I see you can't see the poll. If you can't see it, I can go ahead and put the poll in the chat, and then afterwards you can contact our help desk and give them your answer. So that way it will still count for your CPE credit. So let me go ahead and put that in there. All right, just send the answer to it to our help desk afterwards, and you'll be good to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results for you guys.
Okay, so I do see the result. So majority of you say improved efficiency and productivity, which I feel, yes, is like one of the most important aspect of using AI in the workspace. Some of you said cost savings and resource optimizations. Again, very important for, especially for the public sector, better decision making and insights, enhanced service delivery, and then other. I think that's a good mix. That's a good mix of understanding of what you think as the audience about AI and what is the biggest perceived benefit. So I hope that this session throughout will help you answer those questions. And as in when we move to the next polls, you will understand that this is why we are starting with this question. Okay, so moving back to the original slides, again, what is the artificial intelligence? This is like an official US code definition. You see a lot of like keywords, a lot of big words. If even if you are not, if you are not like a proper technical person, you might find a lot of like specific words which you might have not seen. So this is basically a definition of artificial intelligence. But what it means. So in essence, how does AI work? So you saw this big definition in the last slide, but basically what AI is that you have a lot of training data. So you will have like data in form of quantitative data. You can have qualitative data, videos, image, any kind of data that is out there. You put it into these statistical models. It can be different models based on what type of your data is, and then create these black box of models, and then AI creates this model to perform desired functions. So in a way, this is basically the definition of AI in very simple steps, although we see a lot of like those keywords out there, but this is what it means in essence, that this is AI. You have the data, you use the statistical model, and you get your desired functions. That's like in essence what AI means. I'm moving ahead. The next thing is, where is AI going? We usually see like, so if you have been in the industry, either public sector or private sector, you have seen that there's always some kind of new technology or software that comes and it tries to create like a big impact. And how we usually see is that, okay, we are going to like slowly accept or integrate those technologies into our daily work balance. So like we maybe like in 1980s or 90s, we didn't use a lot of computer, but now computer is an essential part of our daily life, or like our work life. But and similarly, when we think about AI progress with time, what is different here is that with AI, because of the huge potential of this technology, we are thinking that there's going to be exponential increase in acceptance and progress of how AI technologies will evolve over the time. So basically, instead of seeing that linear approach, we are going to see this potential of like exponential growth. So you will think that, okay, maybe 5 years down the line, people will start using this one AI assistant for doing things. But as in when you all have seen in last 1 or 2 years, that it is going to boom, it is going to increase at a more exponential rates. Right now, you might be seeing things like digital twins, AI assistants, no code, and things like that, which is really impacting how we do day-to-day work in the public sector. So that's like one of the important things on this. I believe we have another poll after this, Megan.
Yes,
So
we
we
do.
can,
I'm going to
yeah.
launch that right now for you. And
The second question we want to know from you guys is, where is your agency currently in its AI adoption journey? And either of the answer is fine. There's no right or wrong on this. We just want to understand the mix of people we have so that we can talk about it more. It is completely fine if you have not started, and it is great that you are already implementing or optimizing.
I went ahead and posted that poll in our chat as well. Again, if you can't answer the poll, just go ahead and send it to help desk afterwards and we'll count it towards your CPE, no worries. Give you guys a few more seconds to respond. All right, looks like everybody's got their answers in. I will share those results.
Okay, perfect. So I see the result again. Very nice. Majority of you are exploring, so researching and learning about AI applications. Some of you have started planning or even piloting, which is great, running small scale AI pilot projects. Some of you have not started, which is again, you are at a great place to learn more about what AI means. How can you start? Because the next section we are actually going to talk about some examples of using AI in public sector, where me and Leila both are going to talk about our city specific applications. 8% people mentioned that they are at the implementing stage, which is nice. A lot of you are not on optimizing, which is totally understandable because the things are changing so fast that we have not even reached that stage of optimizing. So again, I see a great mix of responses in this, and believe that this is great to actually move into our next section, which is uh, examples of AI. But before that, Leila, do you want to do any quick addition on the introduction or these slides that we did?
No, you got it, Prakhar.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Okay, I'm trying to change the slide. Perfect. So next we are going to talk about some examples of AI in government. I'll start with an example from City of Austin, and then I'll pass it on to Leila, where she's going to talk about some examples from City of San Jose, which is way ahead in the question that we asked. So let's move. The example that I wanted to talk here is the ChatGPT Enterprise Pilot. I hope a lot of you guys know what ChatGPT is, how it's going to help us as the city employees. But what we try to understand is how it can really help us when we move it inside our enterprise environment, which means that the information and the data that we are putting inside ChatGPT, it is not going to use it to train its own model. So our data is secured, we have our all the data retention and data privacy policies intact. So the idea about this pilot basically is divided into 4 sections. Exploration. So we want to understand what type of applications this can bring. Can we have about feedback on training, use, or policy? Evaluation, we wanted to try some process mapping, value assessment of these promising cases, and then some demand forecasting and budget recreations. Capacity building, so one of our idea was to understand how we can use it for training and upskilling, setting up some data standards, strategy, making sure that security, privacy, and monitoring is intact, and then some inquiries to understand about bias and abuse process, restrictions, and policy updates. So basically, we had 100 licenses to start the pilot, and the people who are part of this ChatGPT pilot got secure bounded environment for development, testing, and evaluation. One thing when we started this pilot is our idea was not very specific on using Chat GPT as a tool, but the idea was to use any kind of this tool out there to you understand our use cases. So today it is Chat GPT, but tomorrow it can be Copilot or it can be Gemini. But the idea is to understand how these types of LLMs out there can help us improve our efficiency and basically help us create those smoother flow while maintaining the data privacy and security in place. So that was like the basic idea. We started back in October last year. We are still in the pilot stage, and then we'll be finishing up in this September. So this is a um, year long pilot that we are currently doing. This is a response that we got from the people when we did a survey, like a midpoint survey. Then when we completed 6 months, um, 83% of the surveyed user said that they are using ChatGPT weekly or daily. So it means that the people are actually using these tools out there. It is not just they are getting it for some fancy reason and then not using it. Even if you see with the graph, majority of them were either using daily or weekly. Some of them were using occasionally. Even if you see like the volume of messages, we had around 12,000 messages in a 30-day period by 63 active users, which means that people are actually taking time to understand and improve their prompt engineering skills and making sure that they are accepting that this different usage and understanding and improving their quality of work. Just to understand what types of use cases they were using, we asked them a question. We gave them a list of 25 use cases and asked them to rank that based on your daily work, where you think ChatGPT is helping you a lot. So you can see like some of those top use cases: drafting reports and emails, summarizing documents, brainstorming and research, and then data analysis and workflow organization. So the idea is that there is a huge scope of like bandwidth of types of use cases out there. So depending on what you do for your agency, there can be a specific use case tailored to you. So for example, I am a data scientist at City of Austin. So I do take a lot of help from ChatGPT to just help me start with a code or like help me debug it, so that once I put in the logic, I don't spend a lot of time just on debugging it, but rather focusing my more time on creating the codes or improving my flow of logic and things like that. Even if you see which types of tasks ChatGPT most help you and your team with, automating repetitive tasks is again an important faction that, okay, I have a, let's say I have a report that I have to present every day. Instead of me creating an email every day, send it to 8 p.m., I can just set an automation that the chat GPT creates that survey and use Power Automate to basically send the report to everyone morning 8 a.m. Enhancing creativity and training, reducing research time, improving data analysis and drafting reports and email. So you see a variety of options that we got. And this is again like a midpoint survey. So people are still using it. We are doing like focus groups and smaller surveys with people just to understand their specific needs. Like for example, we have a group of people in the pilot from our public information office. So we reach out to them, okay, how you are using it. We have people from our IT department. We are doing a separate focus group with them on what is their specific use case. And the idea behind the whole pilot is to understand those types of usage and how a technology or a tool like ChatGPT can help improve the workflow and improve the efficiency overall for us as City of Austin. So this is one example of how we are using it. We are also doing a lot of pilots around, but this was one of the bigger ones that I wanted to bring. And then I want to pass it on to Leila to talk about some of her use cases.
Thanks so much, Prakhar. I'm really excited to hear about the kind of like final results from that pilot once it wraps up in September. That's really cool. Before I jump in, I did see a question in the chat. Someone asked, what is an LLM? Prakhar, do you maybe want to give like a super quick kind of explanation just for folks who might not be as familiar?
Mhm. So LLM stands for large language models, which is basically used when you have like a bulk of data you put in. So for example, ChatGPT, as you know, has a lot of training data from everywhere, and then they basically put in a black box statistical model, and then you use it to ask questions. So LLMs are basically, it can be a large language model like this, or you can create your own. So that's like the kind of basic understanding of what LLM is, where you have like a lot of data put in to create those models out.
Yeah, lots and lots of data. Awesome. Thank you. I'm sure that helped some folks who might not be as familiar. Um, okay, so I'll jump in talking a little bit about the context here at San Jose and some AI use cases that we've implemented. One very popular use case that we're seeing with AI is helping with translation. AI for translation can really help increase accessibility for residents. especially, you know, when they're reaching out to the government for help or for information. It can really help make that interaction more accessible to more of the people that we serve. So in San Jose, the city clerk has been leading this effort in the city to pilot AI translation at city council meetings. And so the screenshot that you see there on the slide is a picture. You can see that banner across the bottom. It has a link for Wordly. And that tool that we use, Wordly, it gives both transcriptions and audio translations in real time, so live in that actual meeting. And it will do it in over 50 languages, and it can also be accessed on your phone. So it's really doing a great job of helping increase accessibility to serve the very diverse population that we have here in the city of San Jose. And it's 25 times more languages at 25% of the cost of our previous method, which was using in-person interpreters for just 2 languages. I will say that, you know, AI translation is a, a very powerful tool, and it's great for increasing accessibility, but it is not necessarily a replacement for those human interpreters. Humans are able to kind of assess the specific context of the situation, that they're probably able to give a higher quality translation than a machine can. But what these AI tools can do is they can do it at scale, and they can do it very quickly. So I think when we use tools like Wordly in conjunction with that human interpretation, we can strike a really great balance and help serve our populations in ways that we couldn't before. Additionally, just to share a little bit more about this, these translations can be added as captions to live streams and videos on YouTube of the city council recordings. And just looking at the Spanish captions that we had on those videos, the city saw a 370% jump in views, which is pretty amazing. It's from 50 views to several hundred views per video. And that was attributed just to the translation captioning. And we also use translation with a different tool in the city to respond to San Jose 311 requests. Many cities have 311. Many of you on the call are probably familiar with it, but it's that like non-emergency helpline that you can contact for non-emergency issues, things like potholes and the like. So that's one example around AI for translation, which I think is really promising. And I love that it's helping agencies provide more accessible services to their constituents. And excuse me, another use case that I want to share about at San Jose is AI for traffic optimization. We're seeing a lot of use cases for AI in the transportation space, which is you know, a huge potential benefit for municipal agencies and local governments. Our Department of Transportation has been leading the effort to pilot this solution here on the screen, and it's called the Central Transit Signal Priority Project. Basically, this project is using AI to provide signal priority for certain bus routes in the city. So every intersection along the route is using this AI signal priority system, and it's called the Light Transit System. And basically, it's giving buses priorities at that intersection to create less idle time for them to have to wait for a green light. So basically, like prioritizing our public transit on those routes. And what this light system does as well, that's LYT, by the way, it's the name of the product. It's tracking transit vehicles in real time and communicating with the downstream intersections along the route where it's going to go to kind of optimize that signal timing. And ultimately, what it's doing is reducing that overall for our public buses. And from the use of this system, we've seen a lot of benefits, including bus transit time being up to 20% faster overall, and they're spending half the time that they normally would at red lights, which is great. And then some kind of other indirect benefits that we're seeing from this AI use case as well is reduced fuel consumption from the buses, reduced commuting time for the people who take the bus, and then overall, you know, just improving that public transit experience, making it more of an appealing and attractive option for our residents. So that's kind of a very different from the translation use case and the ChatGPT use case, but there's a clear value here that we see it's providing for the city. So those are just a few examples. There are many other uses of AI in the public sector that are out there, and it's quickly growing. So, that being said, we want to take a moment to talk about AI literacy and why it's important, especially in light of our session topic for today and AI's impact on the workforce. So first is that AI adoption has really exploded. Prakhar and I have shared just a couple examples with you all, but even just looking at the government sector, there are so many use cases out there. And even just looking at Gen AI, if you don't use ChatGPT or another Gen AI tool yourself, there's probably going to be people around you who you work with who are using it. And it's a personal choice of whether or not you want to use ChatGPT or another tool in your work. But I think that, it can really only help you if you have a stronger understanding of how it works when you start to see it in the workplace. And part of that is kind of point two, which we have on the screen here, which is that people tend to fear what they don't understand. For many people, AI can feel like magic. And that's understandable because we've seen it do some pretty impressive things. I think like the first time you see ChatGPT in action, it can really feel like magic. But when you look under the hood, right, like Prakhar showed us in the beginning that AI it's really just math running at scale on powerful computers that we have today. It's not magic. And so once we understand that, the fears that we might have about how it can be used against us or impact our work, those fears can tend to shrink. And I think that's really important for empowering the workforce, especially our government workforce. I think we shouldn't necessarily be fearful of the technology, but maybe move some of that concern towards how humans choose to use it, right? That's where we have power to make impact. And then thirdly, in order to be responsible users of AI, we need to have a basic understanding of how AI actually works. And so that's going to be true whether you're working, let's say, in the Department of Transportation and administering that transit signal priority system that I just mentioned a couple slides ago. It's also going to be true whether you're using ChatGPT to help you write memos. And you need to understand that Gen AI tools can hallucinate. They can give you information that's just not false. It's just not true. It's false information. And so it's really important that you fact check what it's telling you. So AI literacy is really important as we see this technology continuing to proliferate in the government space, especially as more governments are trying to do what they can to work more efficiently as budgets get tighter and resources are strapped. We saw that was the main reason in the first poll of why people are looking to AI in the first place. All right. And so, like we shared, government agencies are already using AI. Interestingly, a recent study found a gap between the uptake of AI between federal governments and state and local governments. I thought that was interesting. And one of the main reasons that the study found for this gap was unclear ethical and governance frameworks at the local level specifically. So I want to take a minute. We're getting towards like the back half of our presentation now. I want to take a minute to talk about why AI governance is important. If you haven't heard that term AI governance before, it's basically setting up systems to ensure that how AI is procured, used, and monitored, setting up systems to kind of facilitate those processes, make decisions around AI systems. I want to take a minute to talk about why that's important. So what you are seeing on the screen here are some headlines from recent years. And as you can see, AI is not a silver bullet, right? It's not going to solve all of our problems. And in fact, it comes with a number of different risks, despite all of the amazing benefits and opportunities that we see it has to offer us. In fact, the potential harms of AI are very well documented. You can see on the screen. These are just a couple, but from racial discrimination to gender bias to major safety issues, we've seen the very real ways that AI can cause harm to people's livelihoods. And as we use AI, it's really important that we have a strong understanding of these risks and do what we can through governance to safeguard against them. And so having strong governance frameworks is one way that governments can protect against these risks. So I think we have our next poll, our third and final poll right now. Megan, I'll look to you to help us get that up. Awesome. Thank you. So if you guys can fill that out, that would be great. The question is asking, how prepared is your workforce for the impact of AI and automation? We kind of have a sliding scale of how prepared you see your organization being. All right, give you a couple more seconds. Oh,
Sorry. While all of you are filling this poll, I wanted to like remind and just add on to what Leila said about uh, all the risk associated is if you go back to the original, like the initial slides where I showed what exactly AI is, which is basically your training data and putting it on the mathematical models and give you result. You can like try to relate it of what types of data that exist in the training world, which actually help train this model. So when you think about these biases and even have these kind of specific cases, you can connect it back to, okay, historically, what type of data always existed. And that is the data which is actually training these models. So you will always have uh, these types of situations where you have to use like human intelligence to just substitute what AI has given you out. So I think and all of this is like pretty impressive and pretty useful. And thank you, Leila, again for sharing all of these.
thank you, Prakhar.
Absolutely.
All right, Megan, are we ready for the poll?
We are. I'm going to go share
Cool.
those right now. There we go.
All right. So we've got one person who's extremely prepared. I would love to talk to you. No, but that's awesome. It looks like the bulk of us are either moderately prepared, slightly prepared, or not at all prepared. And if you find yourself in that bucket, which it looks like is most of us, that's really normal. We are still in the very early stages of AI adoption, learning the best ways to do risk assessments to protect against those risks once we assess them. And so we're kind of all in the same boat here, and just figuring it out in the public sector. And that being said, if you and your organization, sorry, I'm trying to move the slide forward, but it's not working. If someone could help me move it forward, that'd be great. Thank you. Oh, back one more. Perfect. Thank you. So if you and your organization are at the beginning of figuring out what to do with AI, how to do it responsibly and safely, Prakhar and I want to share with you about the GovAI Coalition. This has become kind of the de facto community of practice for local, state, and federal agencies as well in the states who are thinking about how to do AI responsibly in the public sector. This coalition was formed in November of 2023 by the city of San Jose, but also some other founding agencies. And since then, it's really grown. I do want to share, though, a little bit about the kind of origin story, I guess you could say, of the coalition, one of the main reasons that it came together. And this goes back to governance and kind of being in the early stages of it and figuring it out. In 2022, 2023 in San Jose, when we were just starting to roll out our AI policy for the city, starting to implement our risk assessments and like governance through the public procurement process, part of that, rolling all of that out involved asking AI vendors during the procurement process to be more transparent with us. And specifically, we would ask vendors to share the nutrition facts of their AI systems with us, because they were trying to sell them to us and we wanted to have a strong understanding. So when I say nutrition facts, I mean things like performance metrics, like how accurate is the system? What kind of data did they use to train the system? Have they observed any bias in the system that we should be aware of, right? If you're a government agency who's going to be spending potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars on these expensive AI products, you have the right, like you should have the strong understanding of what the system is so that you can make an informed decision, right? Like, for example, if we're looking at a computer vision camera that can, let's say, detect potholes, that's a popular one in the public sector. And let's say the camera, is probably going to work really well on a sunny day when there's clear visibility conditions. But it might not work as well at detecting potholes on a rainy day when, the camera's going to get water on it and it's cloudy, you can't really see. And so that's something that we would want vendors to disclose to us during the procurement process on that AI fact sheet, because we should know that if we're going to be buying this, we need to know how we should be using it ahead of time, right? And so we started to ask those questions at San Jose a couple of years ago. We asked, small vendors, big vendors. We found that some smaller vendors actually were responsive. But when we asked this of some of the larger vendors, especially, some of the household names, tech companies, we were met with radio silence. And we talked with other agencies, including Austin, City of Austin, was one of like the first collaborators in the coalition with us. We found that this is not a unique problem to San Jose. This was something that agencies across the country were struggling with, was trying to get more transparency and vendor accountability around these AI systems. So, we thought, okay, let's leverage our power in numbers. And that's kind of why and how the coalition came to be initially. And since then, the scope of the coalition has really kind of grown. It's become a much broader community of practice. But I always point that out because that vendor accountability piece has been like a central focus for a lot of the work that we're doing. And you'll see that if you look at the coalition's resources and all the stuff we have on procurement. Just wanted to share a little bit of that origin story with you all. But the GovAI Coalition really exists to empower public sector agencies and equip them with the tools that they need to use AI responsibly. So all of you who answered in the poll that you're not really feeling prepared yet, the coalition has free resources that are available just online that you can download and use that can really help you jumpstart AI governance. So we got started in 2023. I'll just share really quickly. Since then, we have grown to, as of today, over 700 public agencies. Some of you on the call may already participate in the coalition. We have about 2,000 people who participate in the coalition. So that's not the agencies, but that's like the actual people. And in fact, we have folks from civil society, academia, and the private sector who also participate. It's not just government anymore, although government remains our focus. Our slogan is like by government for government. And altogether, our membership has created AI policies for their organizations using the templates that the coalition has. They've assembled a hub of shareable contracts that agencies can leverage to kind of enjoy preferable terms that already exist in contracts. And then we've also worked together to come up with and share different AI use cases in the public sector space. And if you're curious for the complete list of all the agencies, you can find that on our webpage. But I just want to share a little bit more. I think this is one of the last slides that I have, but just share a little bit more about specifically what the coalition has to offer in terms of resources. The way that we kind of try to think about the different templates that we have is along this like AI lifecycle or AI governance system. And we like to say that if you take the resources that the coalition has, starting from nothing, it can get you 90% of the way there to having a fully functional AI governance program, because it's going to get you everything that you need on paper. But once you take everything we give you, you're still going to have to do like the job of actually implementing it, getting buy-in from the leadership and others in your organization, et cetera. But it takes a lot of that upfront work off of your shoulders because your peers at other agencies have already worked together to create these templates. So just really quickly, we have templates that can help you prepare your agency to use and govern AI. The AI policy template is going to be the main one there, but we also have a handbook that shows you how to conduct risk assessments for AI systems during the procurement process. We have lots of lists of different use cases for AI that can help your agency. We have a growing AI registry, which houses AI fact sheets for different vendors. So the AI fact sheets are those nutrition labels that I mentioned earlier for AI systems. So it's been really helpful for agencies to be able to go on the registry, look at the different products that companies have to offer, and they can clearly see like the companies disclosing this important information about those products. So really trying to kind of move that transparency piece forward here. We also have a template that has, it functions as a legal addendum that you could attach to an AI related contract at your agency, and it has responsible AI criteria and clauses in there. That's really important. Things around the ability to audit the system, things around bias, stuff like that. And then finally, we have a template around AI incident response plan, kind of similar to like a cyber incident or a privacy incident, thinking about what that might look like for AI as we move forward. So that's like a lot of information. Feel free to reach out over LinkedIn or email if you have any questions. Happy to chat more. But if you want, I would recommend checking out our webpage. It's linked in the resource tab in the Zoom. And then if you want a deep dive, we have a YouTube channel where some of our members have very generously recorded some tutorials for these resources. So they walk you through them in depth. Perfect. Yeah. And so if you want to learn more, you can join the coalition. We have a coalition-wide meeting coming up next week on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. If you join and you drop in, it'll give you a sense of what we're about, what we're working on right now. And we're happy to help get your agency up to speed. It's a great peer-to-peer collaboration network. So I think with that, Prakhar, I'm passing it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leila. And yeah, I have been involved with the GovAI coalition almost from the beginnings. This is such a great place for, especially for us as the government agencies, to come together, talk about these solutions. And I've been part, for example, of the policy committee where I actually saw like smaller agencies and cities coming in with no prior understanding or even have some kind of resources, and going away with all the templates and understanding of those frameworks and governance policy, and basically implementing them in their agencies. So I feel these are such great resources, especially if you are on those levels of not at all prepared or you want to start your AI journey. I feel like all of these resources are very useful. So thank you, Leila, for sharing it. I know we are almost reaching there on time and we want to do some questions, but I'll do like a quick takeaway of what me and Leila want you to take out from this presentation at very high level. If you want to take out 5 things from today's presentation, these are the things that we think that you should take away. First thing is AI is a tool, not a replacement. While Leila was talking, I saw some of the comments of people talking about what happens if AI takes over, or like all of those types of thoughts. You just have to understand that this is just a tool. It should be used to augment human capabilities, not replace them. So basically, like the government workforce will stay there, as you saw in the first image, which AI is generated, that we are going to be there. We just get this extra tool to use and improve our efficiency. So understand that this is a tool and not a replacement. uh, Responsible AI balances innovation with ethics. So we have to understand that whenever we are using these technologies, we have to ensure fairness, transparency, and accountability in both the design as well as the usage. So always keep in mind that model that I showed in the beginning, that ultimately the model is being run on the data that you provided. So always think about what type of data was used to train the model, and then understand what type of results that it can give you. So understand that fairness, transparency, and accountability are pretty important for these. AI can lie. Obviously, Leila gave you a lot of examples. You must have seen a lot of examples that it can make things up and will can look very convincing. We call them hallucination, but you just always have to understand that AI ultimately is just a mathematical model, a combination of a lot of mathematical models. So it can lie. So you always have to be that human in the loop to fact check, just understand, and basically come up with the exact right solution. AI never forgets. Again, very important. There are no take backs after putting the data into AI. So don't put anything in a prompt that you wouldn't post on a public website for everyone to see. Unless you have like an enterprise solution where you get those type of data control of security and policy, always understand that whatever you are putting in the data, that it might take it and use it to train its own model. So you always have to understand that there are no takebacks after you put any data into AI, especially like the public facing ones. And lastly, the AI must advance with purpose, serving the greater good. So AI can be a force for positive societal change, driving innovation that serves everyone. And especially for us as the government workforce, it's always important to understand serving the greater good is like our ultimate goal, serving the residents for city employees. If you are any federal agency, like serving the residents, serving the citizens is should be like the number one priority on this. So we always consider those things when you are using any AI tool, understand the model behind it, and then make sure that whatever use case you have, you are using it with purpose and serving ultimately your customer, which is like the residents or the citizens of the country. This concludes us on the presentation. Thank you, everyone. Please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. I'll let Leila add on to anything before we move. We might have 5 minutes for questions, but Leila, do you want to add anything on this?
Prakhar, I think you wrapped it greatly. I'll just say thank you for listening, and if you have any additional questions or would like to continue the conversation, please feel free to reach out to us over LinkedIn. Hope you learned something and found something helpful from this.
Yes, thank you so much, Prakhar and Leila. We learned a lot. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure you guys did too. And our questions are absolutely pouring in, lots to ask in a short amount of time. So we will get started. One of the questions that was submitted is, I've heard there is a significant environmental impact with using AI. What is known about that, and how does that factor into the decisions on using it? Did that impact you guys when you were trying to decide how to use AI?
Actually, this is one of the things that me and Leila right now are working on just to understand those environment impact. Leila, if I am correct, just feel free to fact check me. But whenever we are doing one single query on any LLM, is it like 20 minutes of light bulb energy equivalent to 20 minutes of a light bulb getting on? Is that the right metric?
Probably somewhere around there. The thing is that it's continuing to change. That estimate too is like the models come out with like new updates. And then also is like they get more efficient or they come out with models that are less efficient. So it definitely varies, but like we do know right now, like I think that the baseline for a query or number of queries that you do ChatGPT for, like on average, it uses more energy than like a traditional Google search would. And so one of like the uh, responsible AI usage considerations there is like if you know that like a Google search could get you the answer that you need for like that task, then like maybe use that. Like if you don't need ChatGPT, if it's not really going to add much value. Um, and so, sorry for Car, not to interrupt you, but I can just keep going because this is something I'm thinking about a lot
Yeah, I,
today.
I agree. And this is such a like it. This can be like a separate session for the next gen meetup.
Oh yeah,
So
for
Megan, I'm
sure.
just giving you a cue out there for the next
Yeah,
session.
I will
But
say. Oh, sorry, go
just
ahead.
so like another example of the work that we are doing with our pilot is creating superscripts. What it means is that creating a set of prompts, like a generalized prompt which anyone can use within the pilot to start their query, so that people don't do like five prompts for one single thing. We give them like a list of these things. Okay, if you want to make changes in your email, start with this specific prompt which can do most of the part for you, and then keep work on it a little bit just to make changes. So that is like an example of how we can improve efficiency. And I know like prompt engineering is now its own skill. People do a lot of trainings on it. So there are like a lot of solutions which are going to be out there.
Yeah, on a similar note, like I think that's great guidance for car. The city of San Jose recently published, we updated our generative AI guidelines. I'll drop it in the chat. These are our guidelines to like our city staff that use Gen AI. And we added a section in there on like environmental impacts and like some tips and tricks on how you can kind of like consider those as you use it. It's definitely a systemic ish structural issue more so, but there are things we can do as like everyday users to help. And then secondly, this is something that, may be worth considering and factoring into the procurement process, like getting this information from the vendors. And so let me drop the second link in the chat. That is a link to the updated AI fact sheet that the coalition has put out. And a few months ago, we added a section in there as well on environmental impacts where we ask the vendor to disclose if they know the like energy and water impacts of their system. It's more relevant for like the Gen AI tools that are more intensive on that than like traditional AI, but worth worth knowing if they have that information. Great question.
All right, we got time for another one here. We had somebody ask if there's any suggestions on what AI training or certificate programs are good to obtain if they're interested in learning more. Did you guys go through anything specific or?
Leila, do you want to take this one?
I think those programs are still emerging. I think like the coalition, of course, is a great place to start. We don't offer a certificate right now, though. As of now, I know that IAPP has a new AI governance certificate. I haven't looked at it yet, so I can't speak to that specifically, but I know it exists. And there may be others out there as well. I would say just like keep your ear to the ground because I think it's still an emerging space, and so they're still kind of coming out. Yeah, I don't know, Prakhar, if you know of any.
I also think, and Megan, feel free to correct me, but GovLoop also have like some good resources on AI on how to
Hmm.
understand and start your AI journey. So that can also be a good tool to start from. And then it also depends on what types of use cases you want. So it can be a basic AI literacy versus it can be like a very focused AI understanding of trainings of specific tools and models and use cases. So maybe start from like a basic place, like Leila said, like GovAI Coalition or GovLoop, or there are so many out there on YouTube, and then move from there to what specifically is your need or in the scope of your work.
Well, I very much appreciate the GovLoop shout out for car. Yes, we have a lot of guides. We've got a lot of videos. If you go to govloop.com, you can go to all of those. We have them all in one place. We've got a resource page. So feel free to check out all of the things that we have. I think we have time for one more quick question. And then we are going to have to get out of here. This time flies so fast. Last question, what would you suggest for agencies that have an overall structure but are moving very slowly in implementing AI?
I would say it can depend on why you are moving slowly. So for example, even at City of Austin, we are also like moving slowly, but we are moving slowly for a reason that that we are doing like and I saw like a very quick question somewhere about cost and benefit analysis there as well. So some of the reasons also lie there on why you are moving slow. Is it because you are trying to take smaller steps? So like for example, the use case I discussed was more to the internal city staff. We are not targeting any products directly facing the residents right now, which involve AI. So that if that is the reason, that is okay. You are taking a more precautious approach, understanding and framing your own like governance in place before you put on any AI tool or software out there. But if you are not doing anything just because you are afraid, I think ultimately, and if you remember like the exponential graph, and ultimately you have to adopt. So it's best that you start thinking about that implementation and how you can use it, do it like safely and with the innovative ways. So that's like kind of what I think in this. Leila, I know we only have 1 minute before, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think you hit it great, Prakhar. I don't think slow is inherently bad. I think it's, there's the whole move fast, break things slogan, and in government, you don't really want to do that. You don't want to break things if you don't have to. So I don't think slow is inherently bad if there's a good reason for it. And if like you feel like you are hitting some roadblocks or some challenges, I'll just plug the coalition again and say that it's a great way to connect with peers in other agencies who are probably facing or have faced similar challenges as you and can kind of help give you like tactical strategies or tips on like how to kind of navigate that and just kind of like workshop ideas with your peers. Yeah.
I hate
Thank you.
that we have to wrap up, but we do. This went by so fast, and I feel like we could talk forever, but unfortunately, we don't have the time. So thank you, Leila. Thank you, Prakhar. Thank you to all of our participants today and to the 2025 Next Gen Partner Alliance for helping us put on today's summit. Just real quick, I have a few quick reminders. Don't forget to fill out your CPE evaluation. If you had any issues with the polls, remember to reach out to our help desk and give them the answers, and they can help you with your CPE. If you haven't already, head over to that exhibit hall. We've got some amazing booths and some free resources in there. So don't forget your free stuff. We've got lots of good things in there. And up next, we've got our closing keynotes already. That is so wild that today has just flown by, but they are at 3 p.m. Eastern. So head over there. You can access sessions in the sessions tab in the main environment. And we'll see you in the next session. Thanks so much for joining. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.